So good to be with you here, Fawaz.
Thank you for having me.
I'm delighted to see your new book.
Yes.
You know, we're here now in what appears to be the coming on to the end of the fourth year of either the first term or the term of the Obama administration. There's a great deal of disappointment in many quarters, but can we even begin talking directly about the Obama policy in the Middle East, or do we have to go back in history a bit?
We really do. I mean, I don't think you can discuss the Obama presidency without discussing what I call the bitter legacy, the bitter inheritance between the United States and the greater Middle East, that is the Muslim world. And that particular legacy has really its deep roots in the Cold War years, the rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union, where the United States sacrificed questions of human rights and sacrificed progressive forces on the altar of what it called the struggle against the Soviet Union. In 1947 to 1989, so much damage was done to the Middle East, so much hatred and suspicion of the United States. And this particular bitter legacy culminated in the 9/11 wars. In the 9/11 wars, particularly the invasion and occupation of Iraq, a river of blood and treasure and tears was shed as a result of the 9/11 wars. And this is why I think the first two chapters of the book really discuss this particular bitter legacy. And when we say to the viewers, when we talk about it, we're talking about, in particular since 9/11, multiple wars on multiple fronts, hundreds of thousands of American troops battling in Muslim lands. The United States engaged in a social engineering project that went far beyond its strategic interests. The moral standing of the United States, major setback, the credibility of the United States as a rational actor. The United States of America acting, say, the leader of the free world, yet, experimenting in torture at home and abroad. The economic costs of the 9/11 wars, between $3 and $5 trillion. $5 trillion.
To stop you on that, it's one of those numbers. I've been using and hearing and reading and writing this number for so long, and it's one of those numbers that is so large it's almost impossible to comprehend.
You really can't.
What is a trillion? I can't quite imagine a million.
Think about it. When Barack Obama came and he said, $700 billion in order to basically reconstruct the American economy. Think of the huge cry in the United States by conservatives. You're spending $700 billion on the economy.
We don't have it. We don't have $700 billion.
We did not have.
Because?
No, we did not even have the $5 trillion that we have spent since most of the money was borrowed money. Not to mention, it's not just about the economic cost, it's about also the opportunity costs. While the United States was chasing roving bands of jihadis in the wadis and valleys of Afghanistan and Pakistan, the world was going on. So Barack Obama inherited a bitter legacy, economic decline, and also the rise of geostrategic and economic powers, China, India, South Africa, Brazil, Turkey. And this is why any particular start, as you say, your question really must take into account what he inherited and what he has been able to achieve so far in the last 3 years and a half.
Now that raises, of course, the critical question. We're looking at a scenario where he has inherited this weakened position of the United States. The U.S. is no longer the sole superpower. There is no longer a sole superpower. It's not even clear that the U.S. is the most important or most influential power in the region. It's now contending in a whole new way with a new lineup of emerging powers. In that context, we have the U.S. defeat, I would say, in Iraq. We have the rise of Iran and Turkey that you describe in the book, contending with each other and with others for regional dominance. And crucially, we have the Arab Spring that has emerged, that has challenged the idea that the U.S. could rely not only on Israel, but on these Arab dictators for so long. So what do you think would have been different with another president, either a neoconservative president like George Bush or someone else? Did Barack Obama, I suppose is the fundamental question, have any options in what he has done?
Well, I think You're really raising many, many points. This is not just one particular point. I think what we need to understand, I mean, the book is subtitled The End of America's Moment, the beginning of the end of America's dominance. And again, the beginning of the end of America's dominance is very much related to how American foreign policy was hijacked after 9/11 and the deadly and costly wars that was waged in the name of security, that in fact because they had little to do with American security, they were really social engineering projects, planting Jeffersonian seeds of democracy in the heart of Arabia, using bottom-up American boots on the ground. Barack Obama, and this is to his credit and his advisors, they fully realized the damage that was done to America's reputation. They also had a vivid sense of America's decline vis-a-vis the rising powers. They realized that America was declining. And the beginning, the start of Barack Obama, and this is really where the rousing rhetoric comes in, and that's why many of us basically were blinded by the rousing rhetoric. Many on the left and the right misunderstood Barack Obama. Barack Obama has never said that he was a transformational president in the realm. Never. From 2006 till he has
Only
always...
his supporters said it.
He has always stressed that he was a realist in the tradition of Bush Sr. and JFK. And this goes to the very heart of who he is as a president. He never promised, and that's why from day one he wanted to mend the historic rift with Arab and Muslim societies, and he wanted to go back. He really wanted to bring, if there is one particular point to highlight his legacy, he wanted to bring American foreign policy to where it was before it was hijacked by the neoconservatives after 9/11.
Well, then let's look at that, because I think one of the questions that people struggle to resolve is even how much of a disconnect, not in tactics or strategy, which clearly the wars against terror, as it was called, the response to 9/11, was a break with the kind of prudent imperialism, if you will, that we had seen earlier than that. But fundamentally, it seemed that the interests of the neoconservatives was not so different than the interest of those who came before and those who came after. That the key interest in the Middle East of oil, Israel, and stability for markets and expansion of power, bases, that sort of thing, that those three things seemed pretty consistent before the neocons came in, with the neocons' assault after 9/11, and with Barack Obama. Do you see a big shift?
One of the major really lessons myself I really have learned about American foreign policy from researching this book, and I've written other books on America and various social movements in the region and Islamist movements and the war on terror I have written, is that what I call the structural institutional continuity in American foreign policy. You really cannot understand, I mean, this is one of the lessons I really have become, you cannot understand the persistent failures of American foreign policy without understanding the structural continuity. What do we mean? Let's translate. What we mean by the institutional continuity in American foreign policy is a dominant paradigm that views the world through a particular lens. That is, and this particular lens really has, you have the Israel first lens, you have the oil and gas lens, and you have America's strategic interest broadly defined.
The triplets.
And the triplet, as you suggested. And the reason why I think when Barack Obama, he started trying to basically undo some of the damage done by the neoconservative in particular, he came really into contact and resistance by the system itself. This structural institutional continuity, what we call is the dysfunctional American system. Special interest groups, deeply entrenched. People say the lobby. It's nonsense. It's just not the lobby. This is a dysfunctional American political system made up, which includes special interest group, the various lobbies, the Congress, the foreign policy as a whole. That foreign policy that really has, it controls how policy is made. The people, look at, if you really want to understand, look at the team that Barack Obama has brought with him. Exactly. This by itself speaks that these people, the same faces, the same names, the same voices, not even a single dissenting voice on the Middle East joined the administration. This is and this by itself, the same people, the same voices, the same paradigm, the same narratives, and that's why the policy itself keeps really cloning itself. And that's why Barack Obama, when he came up against, the whole special interest groups and Benjamin Netanyahu, 3 major confrontations with Benjamin Netanyahu on 3 different occasions, and he basically lost the 3 major confrontations. Exactly. And this is because he realized